Well, here we are. Season 7, Disc 3, Episode 261. We're almost finished with Star Trek Voyager. I can't believe it. We've been through all 7 years, 7 seasons. Can you believe it? Have you been here with me through all of it? Have you just discovered it now? And then if you have just discovered it now, please go check back all the other 161 episodes. It would be much appreciative, and maybe you'll stick around for Voyager 2. Fingers crossed. Hope. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Kairos, Tina. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, none of that fancy schmancy stuff going on here. And I like series. I'm a series person, so we've been recapping Star Trek Next Generation every single Friday. And we are going to be doing Voyager after this. So let's get to it. Apparently, Geordie has borrowed Spot, and it has led to some negative consequences. I would show you my little Smokey, but she is sound asleep, so we will not disturb her butt. But normally she just looks at me. What is this? You know, don't you hate it when your phone does stuff all by itself? Anyways, shall we get to it? So, Data walks in and there's some broken objects around, and now him and Geordie are looking under the bed for Spot. Data says these incidents are common to cat owners. When you borrowed Spot, you said you wanted to experience the full range of feline behavior before getting a cat yourself. Yeah, well, I'm not ready. You can take her back with my blessings. Go ahead, call her. Spot does not respond to verbal commands, so she won't come to you when you call it. Data, have you ever considered training this cat? I have never found it necessary. Necessary, Data, the cat is at control. Half the time I wasn't sure if she was going to lick me or scratch my face off. Oops. Data says, I have never experienced this kind of behavior in Spot, although she does have the unfortunate habit of jumping on my counter console when I am working. She needs training, Geordie says. And then Riker interferes and asks them to come to the observation lounge. You know, if you tell a cat no from the very, very beginning, from the very instant the behavior is exhibited, they'll get the message. However, if you let it go and don't go after it immediately and don't be consistent with it, you're screwed. You're screwed. You know, when they're kittens, some of those behaviors are so cute. Now remember, when they get bigger, those behaviors aren't going to be so cute anymore. They nibble your toesies, they nibble your fingers, whatever they get on a piece of furniture. Make sure you tell them no and consistently tell them no, or you're screwed. They will do it. So we do get a voiceover from the captain. We're investigating the disappearance of a medical transport Fleming somewhere in the Hectorus corridor. Our search is complicated by the unique properties of this region's particular space. And then we're having a big briefing in the observation lounge. The Flemings' last contact with Starfleet was 4 days ago, Riker says. According to them, there's nothing out of the ordinary when they enter the corridor. Data gets up and explains the screen. The unusual intense tetryon fields in the specters pose a severe navigational hazard to warp-driven vessels. The Hector corridor is the only route through the area which is free of Chetreon fields. Ships traveling at warp must use the corridor to ensure safe passage to the region. How long will it take to complete a level 1 search? At least 2 days, sir. The corridor is over 12 light years long, and surrounding the Tetrion interference will limit our sensor range. Could we send down a reconnaissance probe to supplement the sensors? They won't be very effective, Geordie says. The interference will make it difficult to maintain contact with the probes. The best we can do is increase our sensor efficiency. We've installed multi-phase buffers on all sensor modules. It could help a little. Troy says Tekrios 2 is inhabited, isn't it? Maybe they've had contact with the Fleming. They haven't, Riker said. I've already spoken to them. According to them, only one ship has passed through the system in the last week, and it was a Ferengi. Uh-oh. The Fleming carry a supply of rare biometric gel, which is very valuable. It's possible the Ferengi might have hijacked it. I wouldn't put it past them, Riker said. I think we should prepare for that contingency. All right, then. I agree. Mr. Worf, initiate your search. So then we're in engineering with Data and Geordie. Geordie, there has been a slight drop in sensor efficiency. Perhaps we should examine the phase buffers. No problem, Data. I'll be right with you. Okay, Hanson, transfer the EPS conduit to 13 stabilizer matrix. Aye, sir. Has there been a problem with the engines? No. Then why are you stabilizing the EPS conduit? I'm just trying to get a slightly higher power conversion level. But that would not affect the engines in any way. I know that, Data. It's not the point. What's the point? I'm just trying to get a higher conversion level. That's all. Why? Do you know the Intrepid? Yes. Well, their chief engineer, Commander Donald Copeland, he and I went through the academy together. I just like to make sure that our power conversion levels are a little higher than theirs. I understand. You are in competition with Master Kaplan. You might say that. This is a flagship. We should be better than everybody else. Then you are trying to outperform the Intrepid. Actually, it's more a point of personal pride. These are my engines, and there's nothing wrong with a little friendly rivalry. Okay, computer. Now have we increased the conversion levels? And the computer goes, the levels are unchanged. Oh well, poor Geordie. So then they're in the Jeffries tube. How's that? One moment. The phase buffer is functioning within normal parameters. Sensor efficiency has increased by 6.7%. 6.7. One of the stages must still be out of alignment. Let's try a junction. They do some more climbing. Geordie, I've taken your suggestion regarding Spot. I've begun training her. Really? I am studying several new techniques. I began with a simple condition response exercise and followed it with an environmental enhancement. Next, I plan to explore bioconditional devices. Devices? Such as sensor nets for behavior modification for biofeedback moderators. Unfortunately, I have been less successful. I got an idea. How about a phaser? A low stun setting at the right moment might do the trick. Geordie, I can't stun my cat. No, you can't stun your cat. No, 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 no. I was kidding. Let's see what we've got. No, this isn't right either. Clearly there's a misalignment somewhere in the system. Well, that's for sure. We've got one more possibility. And they go down and look at another junction. I'm somewhat concerned that my training efforts will ultimately fail. Maybe you're just going about it the wrong way, Data. I've consulted numerous animal training manuals. Some of them claim that caps are inherently untrainable. I don't believe it for a second. Listen to me. My sister didn't know a thing about animals, and she was able to train her cat. How complicated could be? What did she do to train her cat? She had that the cat was jumping into arms on command. Interesting. Perhaps I should modify your sister's technique to keep Spot from jumping on the console. Do you know how she would be able to train her cat? Well, I recall she used to walk around the house with tuna in her blouse. Really? When you first get a cat, if it's a kitten, that's good. You can train it from kittenhood. No table. No. You say no table, and that'll be good. A relative of mine was a little on the cruel side and creative, but cruel. I would never, ever, and I was horrified when she told me this. But she took masking tape and put it on her table, sticky side up, She would tape the one end here and make a hill and tape the other hand here and have the sticky part up, facing up. She did a whole dining room table like that. So that, I know she went through a lot of masking tape. So that when the cat jumped up, they got stuck. And that was her teaching them a lesson that they never did it again. Patience and telling the kitten no right from the start will be the best way to do it. No. An older cat, they might have to, adjust. They've got some behaviors already set in, depending on what's happened in their previous life, where they were, how they were raised, whether they were abandoned, or there's a whole lot of other things that got to go into that. But as long as you are consistent and say no for jumping on the table, you'll be good. Now, if there's a 2-person household and one of you consistently says no, and the other person consistently says yes, you're screwed. The cat will go with the yes person 100% of the time. So they play around in the Jeffries tube some, aligning some, talking about the cat. So then we're back on the bridge. Data has just arrived, and they have spotted a Ferengi ship. And they're trying to open up communications. Geordie says there are no emissions from their plasma vents. Their warp drive must be completely inactive. That is correct, Sir. Data says their impulse system is down as well. Power generation is extremely low levels. I think they're faking it. I know those Ferengi. They're setting up a trap. Come help us. Let us on your ship and we'll take stuff. You know those sneaky Ferengis. Life support systems are also functioning at low levels. There are approximately 450 Ferengi on board. That is a standard complement for a ship of that class. Mr. Worf, open hail and frequencies. There's no response on any channel, sir. I'm not picking up any subspace emissions from the ship at all, Captain. It looks like every one of their field coils has overloaded. That would explain why they haven't responded to our hails. It would also explain the failure of their warp drive. Geordie says, Captain, Ferengi sensors are still online. I could modify one of our deflectors to transmit old-style delta waves. If I modulate that with the signal, the Ferengi should be able to pick it up. Make it so. If they did hijack the Fleming, they sure didn't get very far with the cargo. Mr. Worf, have a tractor beam standing by. We may be able to take them under tow. Helm, take us within tractor range. Captain, I am picking up power emissions from the Ferengi ship. They are locking weapons. I told you they were faking. They get fired upon. Their target weapons array only. Phasers locked. Fire. Direct hit. Their weapon systems are down. Damage report. We sustained minimal damage to decks 5 and 7, sir. The Ferengi ship is stabilized. They appear to have impulse capacity. Capability. They were just playing dead, conserving power until we got close enough. But why would they attack us in the first place? Somehow I don't think they let us beam over and ask them. Mr. LaForge, how are you coming with the comm link? I'm almost ready, Captain. Okay, give it a try. Let's see. So they get communications open. This is John Luke Picard, Enterprise. Will you please explain why you attacked us? Attacked us? We were defending ourselves, so you deny that you're responsible for disabling my vessel? Damon, your ship was adrift, your communications inoperative. We were attempting to assess your status. You were attempting to move in for the kill. Don't toy with me, Picard. We are obviously at your mercy. We know this. When the Ferengi Council learns of your actions, they'll consider this an act of war. Damon, clearly there has been some misunderstanding. I think it would be an interest if you were to come aboard and we discuss the situation. I see no reason to trust you, human. In that case, we'll be on our way. I'll relay your position to the government if you wish, if in case you aren't able to complete your repairs and remain stranded. And then he decides, all right, maybe it would be better to discuss the situation. Called his bluff. So he's in Picard's ready room with Riker and Picard. We detect what appears to be a Federation signal buoy. When our sensors, our communication systems were all disabled, we assumed we were the victims of a new Federation weapon. The Federation established this card to ensure safe access to the sector. We have nothing to gain from mining it. Whatever happened to your ship may not have been isolated. A Federation medical transport was recently lost in this corridor. We passed a Federation ship several days ago. It did not appear to be in any distress. Can you give us an idea of its heading? It's possible that information was recorded in our census logs, Commander. Unfortunately, my crew is occupied with our repairs. I don't think we'll have time to research our records. Damon, if we assign a Federation engines team to assist you with your repair efforts, would that give you time to retrieve your logs? I believe it would, Captain. There's something going on here. You know it. There is something going on here. So then we have yet another conversation between Geordie and Data and Spot. Nice orange tabby, isn't he? So then we're back in engineering again. Data, keep the EPS flow constant, will you? I will remodulate the power taps. This procedure will only increase the conversion level by 0.8%. I know, but it could just be enough. Enough. I just received this from Commander Kaplan. He's got the conversion levels up to 90% on his ship. So he wants to increase the levels on his ship too. So then we're back on the bridge again. What's the origin of this debris field? Unknown, sir. It does not appear in any Federation charts of the corridor. Could it be left of the Fleming? It's possible. The debris consists mainly of duranium polycomposite fragments, which suggest a ship. Furthermore, the field contains sufficient amounts to account for the Fleming. All right, let's take a closer look. Perhaps we can find something to give us a more positive identification. And they go into the debris field. Data, Captain, I'm picking up a small object, approximately 3 meters in diameter. Could be a ship's recorder or a probing cast. I don't believe so. It's emitting an unusual signal, Captain. It's beginning to generate a Verdon field. Shields up! There's a little bit of a bump. Just like the Ferengi ship, unidentified ship coming toward us. 2 life forms are aboard. They are about to be boarded. So then they are boarded by 2 aliens. We have intruders in main engineering. I need a security team down here immediately. We are trying to make you listen. You are killing us. Okay? So, when the observation last. You made a very serious accusation. I want you to explain it. Captain, according to our search, warp engines cause a dangerous reaction in this region of space. Our planet is already being affected. We have measured a large gravitational shifts throughout our system. If something isn't done, our planet will become uninhabitable. Captain, I've heard this theory before. Their research was evaluated by the Federation Council a few years ago. Quite frankly, it didn't hold up. That search was only preliminary. Our original analysis was incomplete. If you want us to review your research, you should have made a request to the Science Council. Their resources are limited. It would have taken over a year before they dispatched a scientist to come and evaluate our work. We are not willing to wait any longer. We knew that if we disabled enough ships, Starfleet would come. Then at least we would be able to present our case. That's how you rationalize these attacks? Neither you nor the Ferengi suffered any casualties, Commander. The actual damage to your vessel is negligible. We dispersed Vertiton probes in the corridor merely to disable warp-driven ships, nothing more. Then call it whatever you like. The fact remains you deliberately disguised your probes. You made them look like signal markers. You hid them in debris fields. You mined the corridor. Mr. LaForge, how long do you estimate it will take to restore the engines? The Verton pulse overloaded our field coils, captains. It will take at least 36 hours to get underway. I know precisely how your pulse affected your coils. With my help, your ship could be operational in 10 hours, provided you agree to review our research. Because of the seriousness of your claim, I am willing to listen to your case. But let there be no mistake, our priority is the recovery of the Fleming. Now I expect you to help us to restore our engines and deactivate all the remaining probes in the corridor. If you do not, you will both be taken to the brig and from here the nearest starbase where you will answer charges for what you have done. My sister and I do not wish to impede your rescue process. Don't. The probes are only the leverage we have. But we will do as you ask, Captain, but please re-examine our data. You are killing our planet. Well, if they should listen to these people, they shouldn't look at the planet. They should see what's going on. Captain Picard is a reasonable guy. He should look into this. So then we're in engineering. There, shields have been restored. You will be able to re-engage your engines in approximately 8 hours. You know, even when we get the engines online, it's going to take at least a week to recalibrate them properly. I'm sorry you've been inconvenienced, but that's all it is, an inconvenience. Our concerns are much more important than the condition of your engines. What if the Fleming had been transporting perishable supplies or was on an emergency mission? Your plan might have cost lives. That didn't happen, Commander, and saving lives is precisely what we're trying to do. Yeah, well, you have a very interesting way of doing it. Hey, they did it without hurting anybody. You got to give them points for that. Please try to understand she believes profoundly in this cause. She has sworn to dedicate her life to exposing the dangers of warp drive. Warp drive has been around for 3 centuries. It's a proven technology. And you sound just like I did 4 years ago. You mean you didn't believe her either? No. What I didn't realize was how brilliant my sister is. It took 2 years of study for me to even grasp the principles behind her theoretical models, that they're that sophisticated. Well, Commander, Data's no slouch. If there's anything there, he'll find it. I hope so, because once we persuade Starfleet to stop warp travel through the corridor, we're going to have to convince our own people to give up warp drive completely. Hecaris 2 is the only inhabited planet in this region. Without warp drive, you'd be completely isolated from the rest of the Federation. Are you willing to take that step? Yes. Because of the situation on the planet, he's willing to do that. Serova and Rebel believe there are regions of potential subspace instability within the corridor. They believe that if these regions continue to be exposed to warp field technology, they will rupture. Subspace will extrude into normal space, forming a rift. It's like pacing up and down the same piece of carpet. Eventually, it'll wear out. That is the analogy, correct, sir. Can this be proven? Not at this time, sir. There's insufficient evidence to do so. In order to determine whether or not a rift will form, region must be exposed to warp field emergent energy 1 million times greater than normal to have this happen. Commander, we believe the warp field attack is cumulative. Each time a starship passes by the corridor, a warp brings us one step closer to forming a rift. I agree, Data says. That is a possibility. I suggest we ask Federation Council to send a research vessel to this area. A more detailed investigation will resolve many of our questions. That's your response? More research? More ships? That doesn't work for her. So then they've located the Fleming. It's intact, but their systems are out of whack. Then the captain tells him he'd like to put a research proposal for the Science Council. I'll give it my full recommendation. I appreciate the opportunity you're giving us, Captain. It's the beginning that we need. Not we. You do whatever you want, Rebel. I'll have no part of it. She's convinced it's a delay tactic, so she's gonna do her own thing. So then we're back on the bridge. Captain, the engines are back online. All systems ready. Very good. Helm, lay in a course for the Fleming. They appear to be in good condition. According to our sensors, their shields full back to strength. Captain, the head ship is moving off. There is one person on board. Serova. What is going on? I don't know. May I speak to her? Mr. Worf, open a channel. Server says they wanted proof. I'm going to give them proof. Captain, the Heaven ship's engines are being overloaded. I believe Sever is attempting to create a warp core breach. No! And she blows up her ship. The purple blow doesn't show up too well. Sorry about that. She gave her life for her planet. Is she a hero or not? Do you think she could have done it another way? How does that look? Can we see it? I don't think we can see it. The event is approximately zero point 0.1 light years in diameter, and it's emitting extremely high levels of tritium and radion. It appears to be what Rabel and Serova predicted, a subspace rift. She was right. Can you get a fix on the Fleming? Is she still in one piece? The Fleming is near its previous coordinates. It appears to be intact, but it is now adrift. Doctor, is it possible for a ship to survive in there? Doctor, I'm sorry about your loss, but we need to know. Of course, Captain. Does the rift pose any danger to the Fleming? I don't know. And their ship shakes. Let's see. So then they discuss the fact that the Fleming only has about 12 hours, and they're discussing different ways to get her out of there. Picard says, Data, Geordie, take Dr. Rebel and make an analysis of the rift. We need to get the Fleming out of there. We need choices. Then we get a voiceover. Second officer's log, stardate 47312.1. Our sensor readings have greatly improved our understanding of the rift. However, we've been unable to find a way to counteract it. So then they're all in stellar cartography. Everything here supports Sova's theories. I can't find a way to close the rift or even reduce its size. Doctor, is it possible there are areas in the rift which are stable where we can safely use our warp engines? Perhaps computers scan the rift for regions of low stability. There's no stable area enough to withstand a warp impulse. Wait a minute. There's a strange computer delay grid Delta 17, enhance and magnify. What do you make of that? It's a subspace instability outside the rift. That should not be possible. Commander, I'm going to begin a field enhanced scan of the sector. I'd like to take a closer look. So we go take a closer look. So then we're in the ready room with Picard, Riker, and Data. Uh, discussing what happened in stellar cartography. I suggest we coast into the rift. Coast, we can initiate a brief high-intensity warp pulse from our current position. We will be able to attain a sufficient velocity to enter the reef, beam the crew off the Fleming, and exit without using our warp engines. All right, let's say we initiate full power warps. How much time do we need to drop out of warp? If the field resaturate the nest cells, we'll be able to stay in a warp speed for 2 minutes. That doesn't give us much time, but that's what we have. So then Geordie and Data are back in engineering again. I believe the maximum saturation level should be 18.3%. All right, within these parameters, we should be able to maintain warp speed for 2 minutes, 8 seconds. I don't think we can get any more than that. I agree, Data says. Based on the size of the rift, we should give us sufficient time to complete the rescue. How did we miss it, Data? I beg your pardon. How did we miss the connection between warp drive and the formation of the rift? Between the two of us, we haven't logged thousands of hours on those engines. We're supposed to be warp field experts. How did we miss it? Technically, Geordie, we were not wrong. Serova's theories tested on assumptions were unprovable. It seems to me she managed to prove it pretty conclusively. Geordie comes and tells him he's sorry about his sister. And he wished it could have happened differently. And he says, well, my sister died for what she believed in. But that isn't much comfort. She died to prove a point. And I don't know, was it worth it? Did she die for a good reason? Could it have been proven another way? Could they have used an abandoned ship and set it to go off instead of being on, could she have beamed off just before she pressed the button? So then we're back on the bridge getting ready to make our attempt. Then we run into a little bit of trouble. The Fleming is trying to initiate its warp drive. And since the Fleming initiated their warp drive, they have caused more havoc and more stuff to go wrong. So now we have to investigate what to do. So then we go bridge engineering, bridge engineering, bridge engineering, bridge engineering. So I'm not going to go back and forth, back and forth. I'm just going to say that Geordie comes through with a thing. He says they need to surf through. So they're gonna match phasing deflector shields, and they're gonna make a wave, and they're gonna ride the wave in, and they're gonna catch up to hopefully the Fleming. Um, Data says, let's see, if we can get up here a little more. So they were unable to maintain their wave, and they get hit a few more times. And then Data says, we have impact in 5 seconds. The wave's going to hit them. We are now within the distortion wave. Hull stress has exceeded maximum tolerance. Structural integrity fields are failing on decks 10 through 16. Switching to backup. We're separating from the distortion wave. I'm attempting to compensate. How much longer until we clear the rift? 12 seconds. Hull stress 120% above tolerance. Breach is imminent. The Enterprise is shaking. They have cleared the rift. We get a voiceover. Captain's log, Stardate 473145. We've been continuing our research while the Federation counsels our preliminary reports on the subspace rift. It now appears that what we've seen will have repercussions for many years to come. Geordie says, our scans have shown a lot of subspace instabilities throughout the sector. If they're exposed to enough warp engines, they could eventually create other rifts. Dr. Rabal, based on current warp drive patterns in this sector, we projected where subspace rifts will more likely be formed over the next 40 years. This way, things are now, this is how they'll look in 10, 20 years, and he shows the monitor. Let's see if we can get it up there. I think this is the first group shot they've done like this the whole series. I've always looked for this kind of shot, and they rarely ever do it. But Dr. Rabal is explaining what's going on. He said, based on the warp drive patterns we've projected, I already read that. So he shows them, we've received new directives from the Federation Council from this matter. Until we can find a way to counteract the warp field effect, the Council feels our best course is to slow the damage as much as possible. There, as areas of subspace found susceptible, will be central travel only. I seem to be missing a page. Nope. So the Klingons will observe these restrictions, so they're only going to be going through the rift for emergency purposes during the corridor. What about the Ferengi, the Cardassians for that matter? The Federation sharing all our data with warp-capable species. We only hope that they realize it's in their own best interest to take similar action. So, um, uh, what happened to the Fleming? I'm confused. Oh, I missed it. I skipped a page. It was in the back and forth, in the back and the forth, in the back and the forth, in the back and the forth before that I didn't want to do the flipping. So they rescued all the people off the Fleming. So that's my egg on my face because I missed that. That was during all the back and forth thing. So did that chick die? Did that chick die for a good cause? Could she have done it another way? Could she have not could she have set it up an explosion and then set a way for her to be beamed off the ship at the last second? Did she have to sacrifice her life? Could she have just done a bomb? Although she may hurt other people too, and maybe she didn't want to face the consequences. But she was trying to help her planet. So was it worth it? Was it worth her life to get the Federation to see this? To see her point of view? Could she have done it another way? What would you do? So that's the end. Oops. That was the end of Force of Nature. I hope you're back for the Inheritance and Parallels and Pegasus, and I hope you go back and check all the other seasons. Don't forget Flashback Monday, and don't forget If Then Later today. And when Star Trek finishes, not when Star Trek, when Flashback Monday finishes, we've got 36 more or 35 more episodes of that. When Flashback Monday ends, If Then Fridays is going to move to Mondays, and Star Trek Voyager will be by itself on Fridays at that point. So we'll see what happens. Have a good one.